In Path of Exile 2 there is Mercenary Build that turns every screen into electrical hazard. Throw out Galvanic Shards, detonate plasma and mobs evaporate, bosses melt, easy to gear, stupidly fun, and build to fry entire game. So, hail and match skins and queens, it's me, Spaza King. In this video I will explain everything you need to have some fun and build this monster for yourself. I will explain skills you will need, tips and tricks on how to use your skills, massive and smart passive skill tree, perfect gear setup, and we will finish with a boss fight. This build is really one of the best I tried this season, so I definitely recommend you, and it's very good for starters, for beginners. But let's talk about skills and support gems. It's really very important to understand the purpose of each skill and each support gem. So the first one is Galvanic Shards. That's our main clearing ability. Basically we shoot with lightning shotgun. What can be better? For each skill I got 3 support gems right now, so you can start playing it right from the Act 4 in the campaign. You can start building towards this build, and you can start playing it right when you end your campaign pretty easily. So sockets for our Galvanic Shards is simple: lightning infusion to get more lightning damage, less cold and fire damage. That's it. We're focusing on lightning damage alone in this build. And Galvanic Shards on itself will be basically like projectile shotgun that deals pretty low attack damage, but it converts 60% of this damage to lightning damage. Again, it's pretty low. And once again, but multiple fragments can hit the same target. So the closer we are to target, the easier to hit him with multiple projectiles, and we will deal loads of extra damage. We're basically firing 6 projectiles per shot, so if we land all 6 projectiles in melee range, we will land around 130 attack damage. Whenever projectile hits the target, it will release lightning beam, and beams doing 141% of damage, so that's a really big one, and it's 100% lightning damage, so that's a big one, and only 1 beam per enemy, so it's nice to know. And while damage is really important, still most important is to just fire a lot and making sure we can use other skills to support us. That's why conduction is my second skill for this. I want to have more chance to shock with this one, kill shock enemies a lot, and then we will use Herald of Thunder. Last but not least, we're using Fork. Fork will fork our projectiles, so they will hit multiple enemies, and that's how we clear the screen. So easy and straightforward. The next one, Shock Burst rounds. We got lightning shotgun and shock burst thrust, and this rounds is basically lightning machine gun. Yeah, just like that. But here's the deal. Look at this, guys. We're in Clearfell in Act 3, Act 4 right now, and we almost barely destroying enemies over here. You see how much? Oh my goodness, we can't even destroy it. So here's the Secret Souls basically. Of course, that's our clearing ability, but Secret Souls lies in description of the skill. Again, we're doing pretty low attack damage, just 32% of attack damage with 1 projectile, and we're loading a lot of projectiles. Ammunition is 18 bolts per clip, and we can add 4 bolts with quality. But whenever we hit shocked target, we're converting 100% of physical damage to lightning damage, doing 100% lightning damage basically, with attack damage of 112% against shocked enemies. So when we're hitting shocked enemies, that's where this skill shines. And the skill is basically made to melt bosses. So to melt bosses instantly, we want to attack as fast as possible, therefore we got Martial Tempo. Since Pulse is area ability, it will be buffed a lot with concentrated effect for 30% more area of damage, and Primal Ornament for more weapon elemental damage. And the next one is Plasma Blast. Plasma Blast is just insane, 3000% attack damage. Yeah, you need to charge it a little bit, but we got shotgun, we got machine gun, and that's, I don't know, sniper rifle or a real bazooka, just a crazy beam with a lot of damage. Since damage is so insane, and we will use it for different purposes, and since there's a lot of loading time for this skill, and we don't want to use it a lot, like we don't want to spam it, that's our support gems. Ambrosia will use our mana flasks to get extra lightning damage, so that's like pretty big stuff, and it's recommended for Plasma Blast. Then we got Lasting Shock, so we will use this stuff mostly to shock enemies first, and then destroy them with load shock burst rounds. Basically it's insanely good shock source. And last one is Execrate. We will have 100% 15% more chance to inflict ailment. So damage is so insane that we always inflict shock when we hit enemy, especially bosses, and therefore we can easily continue with shock burst rounds. Now, that's basically it for skills, but we got one more skill, emergency reload. It gives us ability to reload our clip and have 29% more damage. It got insanely, absurdly long cooldown, 45 seconds, therefore we're using ingenuity to lower its cooldown, premeditation to inflict more damage with reloaded clip, and Murderous Intent to give Culling Strike to skills empowered by this. Next up, for clearing speed, I'm using Herald of Thunder. We shocking enemies, we destroying them, they down, we got buff, basically for double damage, for double lightning damage with Herald for few attacks, and whenever Herald destroys someone, we get Innervate to have extra damage as lightning damage for 5 seconds, and Magnified Effect for more area of effect, therefore we'll have more chances to finish someone with Herald of Thunder. Now we're going into buff category, and first one is War Banner. While active, killing enemies with attacks or standing near unique enemy generates valor. You will use the skill, place a banner, and we will have more attack damage. Basically that's just damage buff against bosses, and we want it to stay for longer, so we got persistence of course to have more duration, and other sockets right now empty, but you can drop any buffs you like clarity or whatever. The next up is Overwhelming Presence. Enemies in our presence will have reduced ailment threshold, so we will inflict shock more often, as well as stun threshold. We will have nice stun build up with this build, so it's a nice bonus for us. And again, it's just a buff, so you can drop any other support buffs. I got Herbalism for more recovery from flasks, Cannibalism to recover life on kill, and Precision to have more accuracy. That's it. All of stuff above is just for offense, and best defense is offense of course, but come on, sometimes someone will hit us and we need to have some protection. That's why we got Wind Dancer over here. It generates stages, we get more evasion per stage, we are a character with strength and dexterity as the main stats, so we got armor and evasion. Evasion is a bit good. Why not to have ability to push enemies away if we can't evade? And we will push them easy with support gems like Wind Wave. Whenever we stunned, we will just push them a lot away, so we got chance to recover from heavy stun, from light stun, and basically run away or finish them off. Also, we don't want to get hit again after we get hit, so blind is what will make enemies hit us less. When enemies is blinded, they will miss more often. And last one is Unbreakable. We will just have mod stun threshold for heavy stuns and also for light stuns, so that's pretty good one. Again, it's nice stun protection. So that's technically everything you need, but I got some secret souls for you. The last skill is actually Trinity what makes this build shine a lot, and I really recommend you trying to scale and get this Trinity skill. So the thing is, Trinity will require you 133 dexterity minimum, and support gems is really easy: Lightning Mastery, Cold Mastery, Fire Mastery to make this level higher. And Trinity basically amplifies our elemental damage, amplifies it by a lot, by 16% more. That's a big one, but it requires 100 spirit to use, so that's the problem. We need to get some spirit, but as always, don't worry, I got you covered. First of all, let's go on the map and see how the build plays. So a little bit of crossbow mechanics if you don't know. Basically, whenever you shoot some bolts, you can press on the same button of your loaded bolt to reload it manually. And basically we're using attack button to shoot with a crossbow and using our skills to load different types of bolts. That's it. The strategy for mapping is like perfectly simple. We can just go and shoot, and if we shoot everyone from the distance, we basically destroy them before they go into our screen, you know. Best way to find enemies is to never see enemies, like that. We just go in, cover screen with Galvanic Shards, and that's everything you need technically for mapping. But some like elites will be a little bit powerful, so how to deal with them? Actually, you will be more powerful if you listen carefully in the first part when we come in close. So come close and unload your shotgun. Again, this dude got lightning resistance, he is really big and fat one. How we defeat him? He is shocked, so we're changing our clip and hitting him with our machine gun. That's it. So that's basically how we defeat elites and technically bosses. You will see this Trinity icon, it will be always up and always will give you 16% more lightning damage. That's a big one, and mostly for mapping you don't need anything else. So yeah, that's kinda super easy. Still there's a few tricks you can use, mostly if you see some annoying elites that you can't come close too easy. Then you can just run away and load your Plasma Bolt. Charge your Plasma Bolt just before and start with Plasma Bolt, then rolling forward, activate minigun and unload minigun from close range. That's basically how to defeat enemies who is annoying and you need to go super close to finish them. But technically where you want to be when you're playing this mercenary, you want to be in like medium close range. Yeah, we can clear a wall screen, but it's a lot better to go into like close or at least medium close range, like few meters. And proximal tangibility is the best augment on the list for us. For example, we just need to go close and unleash our shotgun. Also, don't forget, when you're overwhelmed, when you're in danger, you got this clip reload, so you can shoot the 7 bullets or even more and reload clip and continue shooting without stopping. This quick reload can save you loads of time. And while it's pretty simple, against bosses we got a little bit harder combination. But before boss fight, we need to talk about our passive skill tree, because it's really important for our build. The trick isn't damage, the trick is to pick a right nose to become lightning god. And while you can just copy it from planner that I provided in pinned comment, actually try to listen here, because it's really important to understand how we level up after around like level 20 after we go and get this crossbow part. So in the beginning, again, it's just projectile damage. We're taking a step to the left to get two-handed weapon damage, stun build up, and most importantly, we're taking this strength and dexterity nodes. We like really need them. We really need stats for this build. We need loads of stats and lots of stats on gear if you want to get the full build. But it will work even without full build, still it's really advisable to have it. This little branch over here is nice and it's just quality of life. I enjoy playing with this because it gives us movement speed when we killed recently and attack speed if we killed recently. It's nice for clearing speed basic. So then this part basically gives us crossbow reload and crossbow critical damage, crossbow critical chance, and also here we get in attack speed and ability to blind enemies on hit with attacks. That's a big one. Blinded enemies will basically be more blinded when they stun us, and that's a nice big protective node at the same time, gives us a lot of defense. Now, as you can see, we got some lightning damage over here, but you don't need it probably. Actually, if you got okayish crossbow at this point of the game, in the campaign, you will more likely benefit from good crossbow than from 10% lightning damage. So what I really suggest you to do and how I play this build to make it work as soon as possible, basically we need stats, and I just took all traveling nodes, and we're traveling forward on this tree right over here to this last node with critical damage bonus. But there's another branch, as you can see over here. It goes towards Huntress and Ranger category, and you can take this step also because it's nice for campaign, it's nice for clearing maps also. This is last node we're taking, and we get innovation rating and movement speed over here, as well as increased evasion rating, and movement speed penalty will be less when we're using skills. We most of the time basically holding scale button, we want to move faster with this, and there's a bunch of other nodes that will give you this quality of life when you're playing mercenary. Some skill speed and movement speed over here, and also reducing this movement speed penalty from using skills over here. So that's the big ones. Now, what to scale next? Next, you need to choose where you want to go and what you want to take. I really recommend starting with flat damage over here, increased attack damage, movement speed again, and attack damage and chance to maim on hit, so we will slow enemies down, we will be faster. That's very nice for gameplay. If you think you've been overwhelmed a lot, probably you're not picking this right nodes on passive skill tree. Then our main damage source is lightning. Our only damage source is lightning, I would say. And the problem you will start facing at this point of the game, you will start to see that enemies will be lightning resistant. And that's a big deal, especially when you start mapping. Basically, that's why we're choosing this lightning damage over here. And instead of going to the left part, which will give us more damage, I would suggest you going to the right. We will have penetration of lightning resistance, increasing chance of shock, increased elemental damage with attacks, and then attack damage penetrates 15% of elemental resistances. That's a big one, this will help us a lot. And then we're taking left part to increase lightning damage and chance for lightning hits to be lucky. Lucky basically will raise average damage, that's it, you don't need to dive too deep to understand it. Then this big two points over here, increased elemental damage with attacks, increased elemental damage with attacks again, so that's a big buff over here. And even before all of that, the biggest buff you can get is increased damage while affected by Herald of Thunder. So basically we will have 24% increased damage while affected by Herald, and then 50% increased lightning damage while affected by Herald of Thunder. We're doing only thunder damage, only lightning damage, so basically that's the biggest one. And that's basically everything you need to go and clear maps. So that's everything we need to go and clear maps. To melt bosses, however, you need this shock magnitude to do it a lot faster. So we're getting this increased shock magnitude and taking all this down here to increase magnitude by 30%, but also shock duration is a big one. You need more time of shock on enemy to being able to unleash your full clip on him with loads of extra damage. Now your last question probably will be, okay, what's next? And next we're basically building to the complete boss melter. So next plan for this build is to just go and get all critical hit, damaging and chance to attack nodes. So we're getting basically this part over here, also increasing magnitude of non-damaging elements on enemies we inflict with critical hits, and shock exactly is non-damaging element. But as I told you, build is very stat dependent, so this part is big one, a lot of critical damage bonus, a lot of critical hit chance, as well as 10 intelligence, 10 strength. You will need these stats, believe me. And we're finishing with this insane critical damage bonus, critical hit chance reduction over here, but crazy hit damage bonus. And one more critical hit node is over here, so it will be loads of critical damage, like insane critical damage node over here. It will be level 97 at this point of the game if you finish all these nodes. But last 3 levels, if you're crazy, you can go into projectile damage and deal 12% increased damage with hits against enemies within 2 meters, as well as increasing our critical damage bonus against these enemies, and that's the big one. So if you for some reason don't like some nodes over here, you want more protection, probably you can actually respec a little bit, you can remove a little bit of projectile damaging nodes over here, you can go into armor evasion combination over here, drop down through the stats, and also this is big one, 50% increased evasion rating if you have been hit recently, and same for armor if you haven't been recently. So that's a big one. For Ascendancy is actually the key to make this work. So while you can make this work on technically any class, you can do it for gambling, you can do it for witch hunter, tacticians, and new proficiency is the key to make it work. So the first points I took, I just went straight for increased armor and evasion rating, and armor as extra stun threshold, evasion as extra ailment threshold. That just helps us go through the campaign a little bit easier without worrying of our life. But then what we're doing then we're taking this broken node. 8% increased spirit as well as persistent buff have 50% less reservation. So here's the trick. Normally Trinity will cost you 100 spirit, but with our tactician costs only 50 spirit. Herald of Thunder 15 spirit, and basically you see all spirit costs on the screen right now. So total cost for full build is 130 spirit, and you can get it on any class. All you need is to just have plus 30 spirit on your armor or on your amulet. And I'm also using some buffs, so without buffs it's even easier to make this work. So if you're curious how we finish out tactician, basically we will go for increased armor and evasion rating over here. We will cap them at 50%, that's more than enough. We won't have a lot more as tactician, as mixed armor user, and honestly that's it. I don't even know, we don't need this extra pin build up, but we can take it. Probably I will even just pick increased area of effect, and that's it, so we can go into banners. And it's time to talk about our gear, of course. And gearing is extremely simple. Again, no uniques, no problems. You don't need any fancy gear, but you need to plan it correctly and have enough stats. So baseline stats for our build is 133 dexterity, around 40-50 intelligence, actually around 55 when we get full slots, but 40 is okay to start with, and 120 strength. That's just the baseline. What you want to achieve is basically all resistances, you want them to cap at 75%, and you want your life at around 2.5k, like 3k will be enough. And if you're not using any buff support gems that will increase additional spirit reservation, you actually can run this build right from the end of the campaign. You will have exactly as much spirit as you need. if you will find at least one item with plus 10 spirit. But plus 30 spirit is tier 1, so just one item with spirit, your body armor or your amulet will be enough. But again, this one item will give you access to basically everything you need. Since again our main problem is our stats, I just used and tried to find a gear with extra strength and dexterity, as well as extra resistance to all damage types, basically fire, cold, chaos, resist. That's what we got. To increase our damage, basically we're scaling critical in the late game, so critical hit chance, critical damage bonus on your gloves is what you're looking for. Extra lightning damage to attacks is also great on your gloves. To increase your damage with your rings, you want to have lightning damage on your rings, as well as increased added lightning damage to your attacks. That's like damaging buffs. The biggest one is of course movement speed boots. I got 30% increased movement speed boots, which is great, without any protections actually, but that's fine, I got enough. And I just crafted this godlike amulet with 30% increase to fire, cold, lightning resistance, and also you can have critical hit chance on your helmet. That's another source of damage amplification. For protection again, we're using strength and dexterity mix of armor, so it's really easy to get. And for weapon we're using crossbow, and any crossbow will work. The best one is Desolate crossbow just for flat damage, or you can get any other that will give you additional bolt in your clip, or like there's a lot of good crossbows, just don't pick the grenade one. You don't need any grenades in this build. For bonuses on your crossbow, the best one will be increased physical damage, added physical damage, the bigger than we got over here, but that's also fine, and increased elemental damage with attacks. That's the biggest one. Extra lightning damage to attacks will be very big too, so you can get a really nice roll of lightning damage. And for bottom part, it's critical hit chance and critical damage bonus. That's it. You can get any other like third attribute at bottom, you can get extra stats, you can get extra bolt, whatever. Top part is more important for your weapon. And I would say ingenuity, just utility belt, not ingenuity, is the key actually. It helps a lot in the late game. Try to find good utility belt that will give you some armor, some maximum life, as well as some resistances, and this will get you covered for the whole game basically. And I guess it's time to run the boss map. Let's find out how our wholesome character can perform against bosses, but most importantly, I will explain how to make correct combination against bosses. Since basic clear is basic, as you can see right now, it's like, again, it's pretty basic, but against boss, to multiply our damage, we need correct combination, or we will do almost no damage. So to be sure that our fight versus boss will start and his fight will end, let's jump straight to arena. The trick is simple, we just need to instantly switch to plasma bolt and charge it up before boss awakes. Then hit him once, he is shocked instantly, we're switching to our machine gun, placing banner and shooting, then we using reload and shooting again, but he is already evaporated. And this by the way was upgraded boss, so it's second difficulty of boss and we can clear him in 1 second. I hope you enjoyed the build and you will have blast playing it in Path of Exile 2. Watch other cool videos on the screen right now and see you there.